Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Longley's Line Podcast. I am your host, Stephen Longley. Remember to like, follow, subscribe, all of the social medias. Stephen Longley for my personal, Longley's Line for the show, and Lightstyle Studio for our studio here. And as you guys know, we bring on guests from all different walks of the entertainment industry. And early on, when it was just audio, we had my guest today, Mr. Jerod Arreguini.
There you go. Look at you.
I got it.
Nailed it.
Try. Jerod, thank you for being here.
Of course.
Before we get cooking into anything we're talking about, go ahead and promote your socials wherever you want anybody to follow, find anything like that.
Sure. Good luck trying to spell my last name. So Arreguini, but if you can type in Jerod Arreguini, it'll kind of go there.
Yeah.
So, but and then on the business side of things, a couple things you could follow is Jam Entertainment. That's the major DJ entertainment company, and then Jam Social. That would be our photo booth side, and then I also have a wedding venue in town in the Reno Tahoe Market, South Creek events. So you can just type in South Creek, and all the things will come up. So
all the stuff
all the things, all the socials.
You'll find them all.
You'll find me somewhere. Stalk me. It's all good.
You got it. So the initial thing is, where are you from originally?
Well, it feels like I'm from here, but I'm not. So being, in the Reno Tahoe area for 20 years, you start to feel like this is home. Mm-hmm. But I'm actually from Napa, California. So born and raised, grew up in Napa, and, to me, it was like everybody else's small town. So it's like I couldn't wait to get out. And it wasn't until I was an adult and went back, and I was like, oh my gosh, how crazy this is where I grew up. And, I have family still there, and we go back and visit. But it's definitely different when you're in a place you're like, I can't wait to get out of there. And then I didn't realize, I grew up on 39 acres. I didn't realize that was like a privilege.
Yeah. So, until later on, and you have to afford it yourself.
Exactly. Right. 100%. So
that's where mine was from, because I'm from Los Banos, California.
Okay. The bathrooms.
Which nobody's heard of, but my high school actually played their baseball team at one point.
Okay.
Which made no sense. It was like, it's a tiny little podunk town that you blink and you miss it.
It's an off ramp. That's about all it is.
Yeah,
so.
And then you're like, how do I get there? And it's just a big farm town. Yeah. So I'm the same, where I've been here about 20 years, and it just feels, this
is where I live.
I'm from Reno.
Right.
I know it best. And when you were growing up, what did you think you wanted to do for a living? Did you have something in mind as a child?
I think growing up, I don't know, I wanted to be an Air Force pilot. I wanted to do all these things. And I think that when I got into high school, it's probably when my passion for music kind of took off, and musical theater took over. My dream at that point, once I think I hit high school and became a huge musical theater nerd with Phantom of the Opera, Les Mis were hitting on Broadway, and that was my passion. That was my dream. I was going to be a Broadway singer. I was going to be the next Michael Crawford, which to this generation they have no idea who that is, but the original Phantom and the Phantom of the Opera. So that was what I wanted to be. That was my dream, and that was everything I was going to do. And even to the point of some of my ink is musical theater based, so it's just part of who I am.
It's a niche crowd.
It's a very small niche crowd. And they're just as cult-like as any other cult out there. I mean, they are loyal. And, Wicked just had its 20th anniversary on Broadway, making it the 4th longest-run musical, and people lost their minds. It was... And, of course, everybody else is like, what's Wicked?
Yeah. It was like, Wicked is one of those different takes on things, which is pretty cool.
Love that. Nice spin on The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
The true story of the witches. So.
Which I always like when they dive into something a little different.
Yeah, taking a new angle at it.
Yeah.
So
except when you have those perfectionists that are just like, well, why don't we follow the original story?
Right.
It's like, well, do we have to?
And I don't think we really want to follow the original Wizard of Oz. That's dark, actually. It's extremely dark. So movie did nothing to it brought some life to it, but it's a dark story.
Well, it's much like how Disney is, all of their fairy tales.
Oh, they're all grim stories that are dark and ominous, and I don't think we'd like a lot.
Why would Disney change this? Did you really want the original Little Mermaid where she turns into sea foam?
Yeah, probably not.
No.
Not kid friendly.
No, not at all. Hans Christian Andersen. Rough stuff. When you found that you had the passion for the musical theater, did you go head on into it in high school? Were you playing sports at the same time, or was it like, well, this is kind of what I
So
want to do?
I try to do both. I was a real tiny kid, despite my size these days. I didn't even break 100 pounds till my senior year of high school. So I was a tiny kid. Wanted to play sports. Pretty much the only things available to me were like pole vaulting and swimming, and being a kicker on a phone. Because the wind blew me over.
Yeah.
But I loved music. It was my passion. So I tried to do both. And in fact, I actually graduated high school from Napa High. Yeah, with more music credits up to that point than anybody in the history of the school. And I think I may still have that title. But yeah, music was my everything. I did band, I did choir, did drama. If there was something, I could do musically, that was just kind of what I did.
Yeah.
And at that point, it wasn't even thinking career. I was just thinking, wow, this is what I want to do. This is where, these are my people. Clearly all the drama people are there, but I just loved music. I thought the world should break out in song and choreography on any given moment.
Especially when you're in high school too, and you're just like, well, this is what I have. What do you mean the future?
Yeah. You're not thinking the biggest thing you're thinking of, maybe I might go to college, and it's about as far as you're going to think. And I did. I thought, for a long time, that's what I was going to do. I applied to all the schools you can think about: Juilliard, Oberlin, Music Conservatory, Chicago School of Music, UCLA, plus regular college, UCLA, and whatnot. Got accepted at most of them, and then pivoted. A friend of mine actually took me out to lunch one day. I was actually in theater school after high school. That's what I was going to do. I was studying musical theater. And he was like, so what are you going to do that's going to make a difference? And I'm like, I'm going to be on Broadway, and that's going to make a huge difference. And it wasn't. So I pivoted, actually, and I kind of dropped out of the whole musical aspect of my life as far as musical theater goes. And I said, I need to get away from the rigmarole of the world, because it's just, man, I'm caught up in this sleeping 2 hours a day and doing theater and working and all of this. So I dropped everything and went to school in, of all places, Joplin, Missouri, to just literally step away from the entire world. Went to school, got a degree in literature and music, both, but it wasn't, kind of felt like my musical theater days were going to be behind me. So I actually went to work, surprisingly enough, for a local church and helped them with all of the theater things that churches do nowadays, lighting and music and these things. But it wasn't Broadway. It was not what I had. Definitely wasn't the destiny I thought I was creating.
Yeah, so, it wasn't Broadway or off Broadway.
No, in fact, it was Joplin, Missouri. The only reference that most people know of is, the Route 66 song. So it's about as minuscule as you can get.
Yeah. The other one that came up that I saw somewhat recently, I guess, is in Barry. She talks about being from Joplin, Missouri.
Exactly.
So it's the same thing.
And again, people are like, huh? So it's definitely not something that people, I loved my time there, and I absolutely needed to get out of the Bay Area and go like, whoa, what am I doing with my life? Because not that I was living a destructive life, but just constantly 100% go was not good for me and my mental health. And, back then in the 90s, we didn't really talk about what mental health was. We just did it. We just didn't, if you had ADHD or any of these things, didn't matter. You push through, all the things. So,
get over it.
Exactly. That was my mantra for years until my 30s. Just get over it.
Yeah. And while you get to Joplin and you get with the church, were you still in school at that time, or it was just focused on helping this church production? Yeah,
I did. I went to school full time. So I was kind of, again, you would think I left California for a reason to get out of the craziness, and all I did was brought it with me. I took a lot of the production stuff and managed to still, be a full-time student, help out in local churches, do different things, theater productions, like on a much smaller scale. Right. Instead of doing them on a big theater, we would take some of the mega churches in the Midwest and do some big productions there. So, and we were only an hour away from Branson, and I was kind of in Branson's infancy, becoming the big theater capital. So getting to kind of like dip my toes in it without actually jumping back in 100%.
Right, where it being kind of the, not necessarily lower level, but being something that's not as in the zeitgeist of Broadway.
Exactly. And it was, I loved what I did. Obviously, I can't imagine music ever being away from my life. So, it didn't matter where I was at, whether it was, growing up in the Bay Area or Joplin, Missouri, music just kind of, it permeated me no matter where I was at.
Yeah.
I couldn't run from it. So.
Right. It always follows you and gets stuck in your head.
100%.
Constantly. And when you're there, do you remember one of the either first productions that you put on or one of the biggest ones that kind of sticks out in your head?
Yeah, so it was actually kind of a unique production. The college I went to had these incredible summer kind of almost theater camps, and they would bring in kids from all over the Midwest, and we're talking 200-300 kids, which is a lot of high school kids.
Yeah.
Bring them in, and they would have a choral program, and within that they would have like a live band, and then they would have a drama that kind of narrated, some like I remember one of the songs. It's the Phil Collins Paradise song,
Okay.
and that was kind of the theme of are we taking care of people and whatnot, and the whole kind of story was built around that, and being able to help kind of put that together, assist in directing that large choir. And even on one song, we just needed a really cool bass, and I sat in round sound and played bass from the soundboard. So, if there was a way to kind of be involved, whether it was music or tech or directing, and that was cool because one of the concerts we had, or kind of the shows, we had about 2,000 people show up, and it was enormous. It's ironically at the same school we did other productions that happened, and you and I, prior to the video starting, had talked about we all have our dirty little secrets, and at this college. We did a thing on Friday night. Instead of calling it Saturday Night Live, it was Friday Night Live. And it was in front of thousands of high school kids. And at that point in time, and I'll admit it now, I actually, again, about 100 pounds, I used to be a Michael Jackson impersonator. So you don't even have to ask about it. I'll just confess my sins now.
Secret's out.
Get it out. So yeah, that was kind of cool. It's one of those back in the day. My hair was super long and curly, and I didn't wear a wig or anything like that. But I had, I made my own clothes, and it was pretty legit. Like
when you were doing it, did you pull out all of the stops, outfit?
I had the move. The only thing I couldn't do was singing, so I lip synced. But I did the dancing, the moonwalk. Part again, go back to high school. For me, there was never a time when Michael Jackson wasn't part of the soundtrack of my life. There was, growing up, you had the Jacksons, and then, he went out on his own, and there was, I grew up right in the middle of Thriller. So that was just part of who I was.
Did you say Thriller?
Thriller.
Huh.
Look at that.
It's like someone's following you.
Greatest selling album of all time. And yeah, because it plays every October. So, but yeah, so so it became something I did, and I couldn't sing or dance actually until like middle school. It was not my thing. I couldn't sing to save my life. And I remember one day trying to sing in the shower, and my mom would actually turn up other radios in the house to not hear me. So, and one day it just clicked. Everything went from black and white to color. And then I realized, wow, I can sing. I love Michael Jackson. I wonder if I could sing like him. And I couldn't. My voice is so low. There's just not an option.
Yeah, it's a really distinct kind of voice. Yeah.
But I really decided I could move like him if I wanted, and I practiced. And so I was the kid in front of my mirror that watched the videos. Like I watched Thriller, I stayed up till midnight to watch it on the MTV premiere because it was too controversial to show.
Yeah.
And I remember watching that and thinking, I can learn and I watched the hands, the way his hands moved, and every little thing from the facial expressions to the bodies and all of that. So it became something that I was like, by the time I hit high school, I was flawless in his moves and impersonations and whatnot. So, yeah, I got to be a paid impersonator at a couple events, and then in college got to do that gig. And it's kind of funny because afterward, the hair and the makeup, and I didn't look like me, but and we actually had people lined up just to take photos. And I'm like, really, this is where I left California to get away from this, and this is where my life has become as a Michael Jackson impersonator.
I needed to get away from
Joplin,
the craziness.
Missouri.
And now you're on the main stage.
Yeah.
Being Michael Jackson.
100%. It was great.
Did you have a certain go-to when you started as the Michael Jackson, or was it a set list, or was there that one that you knew as the second you pulled it out, it was done?
So obviously Billie Jean was the big one. That was the one that everybody knew. You had the hat, the glove, the moves, the moonwalk. So that was the one, the moment you did basically mimicked the Motown 25, where it just, the crowd went crazy. And then I always tried to do something different. At the time, Free Willy had come out, so the song "Will You Be There" was a really big hit, and so that became a really kind of a cool thing to do, because that's kind of also, it's a more of a gospel-y kind of vibe to it. So it's here you get to do Billie Jean, but also at the same time you get to do this kind of big anthem, which was cool. We even, this is so sad, but in the production side of it, you know, watching concert footage and whatnot, we staged the fainting girl, we staged the guy jumping on stage and security running across and grabbing him. I mean, we treated it like a full-on production. It wasn't just going to be a lip sync, or it was going to be like, you know, we had the lights and the soundtracks, and it was crazy. So
that's awesome.
I mean, I found a couple years back, I found the VHS tape. It's alive, and I think I have the only copy of it. Ooh. So yeah, back VHS. There's something kids don't even know what that is.
Kids, if you're listening, or younger generation, a VHS is just a bigger cassette tape. So we'll leave you with that.
It's way pre-Netflix.
It's much more than that. And
Netflix in a box. So there you go.
Guess what? If you were lazy and you wanted to watch that movie again and you didn't rewind it,
they charged you.
Oh, you're screwed.
Yeah, it was like $2 to sometimes. That was that. And then they made that whole movie Be Kind Rewind. So it's like one of those. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, back in the day. Back in the day, you couldn't just go to your Disney Plus and watch, you know, the latest Loki. You actually had to go and hope somebody, like the movie you wanted to see was in stock. And if it wasn't, you waited by the Blockbuster Dropbox and waited for that movie to come back in.
Or then you had that heartbreak where you go walking down the aisles and you see that box that's right there, and you go to grab it. Nothing's in there. And it's just the display.
It was many Back to the Future movies that I didn't get to see right away because of that. So
I think I may have brought this up the last time, or it was something similar to this, where in Spanish Springs, because that's where I grew up when we moved here. Okay. I lived in Spanish Springs, and we had a Burger King, a 7-Eleven, Round Table, some bar and grill, Albertsons, and a Blockbuster.
Oh, that's all my generation right there.
That's all that was out there. So every time we would go, we would spend, you know, Friday nights, Saturday nights going to Blockbuster and figuring everything out.
What you're going to watch, and then everybody fighting for what video they're going to get.
It was between me and my sister figuring out what it was, and then begrudgingly they would go, okay, we'll get both.
Right.
So now, if you go out to Spanish Springs, it's huge. It's got a Winco out there. There's multiple roundabouts.
It's Reno Part 2. It's crazy busy out there.
Huge now. And I think the most fitting thing about what happened to that Blockbuster is it's now a dispensary.
Even better.
I think that is so fitting.
Go in and get what you want.
It is almost the exact same, where you're just walking through like, maybe I'll get that.
Maybe I'll try this one today. Maybe I'll try this today.
And then I'll go watch my VHS when I get home.
Exactly.
Like, you go pick it out. I'll do it when I get home.
Oh, I love that.
So as you're in Joplin and you're still having the flair for music kind of going through, are you you're just doing whatever jobs kind of
whatever kind of, you know, it's funny because you just take what you can get. Anytime you're trying to, you know, pay rent, it's comical. I watch a lot. Like I just watched Tick Tick Boom, which is it's a musical on Netflix, but it's a story of the guy who wrote Rent, and I'm just watching this and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so much of my life. Just this, like, do the little things here to pay the bills, to do what you want to do, but you never really always get to do what you want to do because you're looking for the next job to pay the bill
while you're working at a diner.
Exactly. Yeah. So you know, that was really resonated. Always looking for the next thing. You know, once I graduated specifically, you know, trying to kind of get to the next rung on the ladder, so to speak. You know, staying in the music field as much as I possibly could. Actually took me out of college. You know, I did go work for a few churches to help them in the areas of music and production and whatnot, which is actually what brought me back to the West Coast. So I was in the Midwest for a while, in Joplin, and then up in Columbia, Missouri, you know, little Mizzou Tigers and whatnot. That was like my only college experience in football until moving to Reno. Sort of. And then I ended up out in actually Eugene, Oregon, where the Ducks are there, and you know, they're crazy fans.
Yeah, it's a huge college football
town.
Oh
my gosh, it's like them and Ducks and Beavers. That's all they care about in Oregon, and dispensaries. But from there, you know, just getting involved in different things, doing helping with productions. And then I kind of had enough. I was kind of like done with the church thing. I nothing against church. I love church people. But I was done with the politics. Like any company, it doesn't matter if it's church or school or business, there's politics.
I thought
I'm done. I'm out. We ended up coming down to Reno, Nevada after that to help out with another church plant, which I thought I would never do again. And sure enough, I helped out with. But the cool thing along the lines is something that was streaming every single time was being asked to help out or sing or play at weddings. So I was constantly singing. I was constantly either, playing guitar, playing piano, or singing constantly. So it's that was the constant stream. It didn't matter where I went. Someone's like, hey, you sing, right? Hey, you play. And then here in Nevada, everybody thinks they sing, they can play, whether it's Reno or Vegas.
Yeah.
Everybody's a rock star here. And between doing some of that and just getting, helping not just churches, but man, the karaoke circuit in this community it needs help. Like it's therapy needed because people do it like religiously. There's a place in Reno to karaoke every single night if you want to. And sadly, I got suckered into that. I was like, this is the stupidest thing. I'm a real musician. Real musicians don't sing at karaoke bars.
Karaoke.
We don't play this crap. And of course, somebody said, you should come with me. And I'm like, I will go and support you.
I'll do it.
But I'm not going to sing.
Yeah.
And
it's like, I'll be there, but I won't be happy about it until you hand me the microphone.
I was so mad. And then they started putting my name in. And they started, they knew my voice. And they knew kind of where I could sit singing-wise. And then now it's part of my life. It's like I even won a state competition for it. It's like it's kind of insane. It's just... I mocked karaoke for so long and then ended up becoming...
And now it's sort of a part of...
It's a part of who I am.
A part of your brand.
Right, exactly. And we do karaoke as part of our brand, which is even funnier. So.
And what was the karaoke competition? What was that?
So everybody's familiar with like The Voice or X Factor or, America's Got Talent. And ABC took its shot at it for a while. And they did a thing called Karaoke Battle USA. What was cool about it was a different approach. It wasn't like everybody went to a stadium and auditioned.
Yeah.
And so they started out with all these like little local bars that across the United States. And you had to go all through these rounds and win certain amounts of competitions and all those things. And then it went from like a city to like northern Nevada and then all of Nevada. And then once and throughout the process, they have real like local judges from the radio stations, and I actually ended up winning for the male contestant for the state of Nevada, and went to the national competition. And just to give you an example, like Carney Wilson from Wilson Phillips was one of the judges. Joey Fatone from NSYNC was one of the judges.
Of course,
yeah, he's everywhere. So it's like, I mean,
it's either him or Lance Bass. It's one of the two.
Lance has come out of nowhere lately. He's just all over the place. So.
Well, he came out much sooner.
It's true. He did. Yeah. But my favorite thing lately is on him is, did you see the
not Taylor Swift?
I'm not Taylor Swift. I was like, that was so great. I love that.
He's funny. I like Lance Bass.
He's awesome. And then, but Joey was funny because during commercial breaks and stuff like that, we would just sit on stage and talk. They handled it differently than the other competitions, and like we performed at the House of Blues in Vegas, and of course, singing that much and whatnot, my voice went out on me, and I kind of tanked from there. But it became something that. It was like, wow, how did this thing I made fun of just a few years ago become now I'm a state winner for the state of Nevada for, I think it was called Karaoke Battle USA on ABC. And again, it's one of those things, never say never, right? Because that's usually going to come back to bite you in the ass. So
you're just like, this is the dumbest thing ever. Now you're doing competitions for it.
And it's funny because we actually, our company, Jam Entertainment, is now we do DJ work, MC work, photo booth work, and karaoke work for KFC. So they're one of our clients, and they when they did their big regional conference, and KFC is also, it's owned by the Harmon Group. They own Taco Bell, all the big dogs. Yeah, and it's funny, they had a karaoke night, and I thought, this is now part of my life. This is what I do.
Why does it follow me so much?
And it was cool because here you have hundreds and hundreds of managers from all across, the United States, and we're doing a sound check, and I sang Lone Stars, Amazed. And it was cool because my team, who didn't know I sang, all of a sudden they're coming from the photo booth areas and stuff. And they're like, whoa, that's really good. And it's like, it was cool because here I got the guys who I think the sound guys the night before had done like Incubus's sound upstairs at the Grand Sierra Resort, and now here they're doing my karaoke sound.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I sounded better than I ever sounded in my entire life. I was like, I'm going, wow, that guy's really good. You know, it didn't sound like me. It was sound so like good.
They're coming down. We just helped with Incubus. Now we're slumming for karaoke, and then they come down.
This guy Jerod, we're just gonna,
come down. Huh? Interesting.
He's okay. So
I like what's going on here.
But it was cool. It was neat to be able to do that. And then again, kind of funny here. 10 years earlier, I'm mocking karaoke, and now I'm singing karaoke tracks in front of the CEO of KFC.
Yeah.
So
it's funny how life comes at you in that way.
It's
much like how because you were the DJ for my wedding as well, and there was the point where we're just hanging out, kind of having a good time, and then an Elvis song comes on. I was like, I love this song. I was like, this is pretty good. I was like, why does it sound a little different? It's weird. And then my wife just kind of taps me on the shoulder and was like, it's because it's Jerod singing. I'm like, what?
I didn't have a choice on that. I want to be clear on that. So obviously,
I know
I'm dear friends with Lauren, and she and her mom and I actually was one of my best friends for a long time. Lauren's been an amazing friend. I'm not gonna lie, I get jealous when I see you guys go to Disneyland. I'm like, I should be there.
I know, but she does the same thing. She's like, Jerod has given me this information that we need, and that's what happened when we went for Renee's birthday. It was for the honeymoon. Because we had gone there, but my family had also made it a point where we're just going to make it a whole big trip.
Oh, nice.
So for the honeymoon, I had my mom, dad, sister, one of her close friends.
Family moon.
Close friend, yeah. Because we had already planned the trip, and then the wedding kind of coincided with everything. So we're like, we're just going to make it the honeymoon. So then when Lauren and I went on our own, she was like, all right, Jerod has told me this for this thing.
All the tips and tricks.
So let's go ahead and do this. And then we ended up getting into this place and doing that.
It's like, yeah. So Lauren knew, and I've known Lauren for forever, but she knew that I sang, and I knew that I didn't really have a choice. I was like, I'm going to have to sing at her wedding, and not obviously during the ceremony, but during the reception. And,
once you started during the ceremony, I was like, this is weird.
Right, exactly. Elvis during my ceremony, whatever. That works.
I'll take it.
But no, I love that. That was such and it's fun because when we don't do a lot of friends or family because sometimes that can be controversial. People you can ruin relationships out of it. But we probably do a couple a year that and I draw my line. I'm like, I'm a business person, and here's the line.
Yeah.
But those turn out well. We had another wedding just this year. It was actually a wedding that the gal who does a lot of my ink. It was her wedding, and we had karaoke for that wedding, and I was like, I'm never going to get away from this karaoke stuff ever. No. It's part of who I am. But again, it was one of those that, when someone knows you can sing, they're going to pull it out, and they're going to be like, hey, would you sing? I'm like, yeah, because I'm that guy who also still has, regardless of how much I mock it, I'm always prepared. Like, I've always got my songs. Even on my phone, I've got my list of karaoke songs. So if I go somewhere, I'm like, do you have these?
Yeah. It's the same for, like, on my end with the acting or modeling side of things. It's like, I really don't want to be in front of the camera. I don't want to do anything. If someone's taking pictures, it's fine. But the second somebody pulls out a professional camera, or they're trying to do an acting gig, or something's going on, I'm like, well, okay, I can be involved. I don't want to do any of that. Please don't ask me to do it. Hey, would you mind standing over here? Of course.
Sure, whatever. Yep, exactly.
Let me just where would you, are we doing natural light, or what are we doing?
Right, exactly.
Every time. I do it no matter what. I'm a ham in front of the camera.
It's the same way. It's like, I'm either on or I'm off. There's no in the between. I joke often. I said, knowing me is like, it's like black licorice. You love it or you hate it. There's no halfway. But my personality is the same way. I'm 100% talking, and then when we're done, I'll get my truck and I'll drive home, and I won't talk to anybody the rest of the night. So it's one of those really comfortable on stage, but I'm just as comfortable sitting at home having a drink in front of the fire.
The exact same way. I'm right there with you. So now that you come back here, you're in Reno, you're helping the church and everything that's going on. What makes you decide, or do you decide to go into DJing while you're here? Or what kind of happens next when you're here, you're helping that church out?
It kind of turned out on accident. Like, I've done DJ stuff back in the day, but it was like friends had a party, and they're like, hey, bring your records. That's, and we put them in egg or milk crates and brought them. So that was kind of the thrust of doing it. I've done it here and there back in the day where you had, like, if you didn't have the vinyl, you didn't play it.
Right.
So probably around 2010-ish. I mean, I've done music, I've done DJing, but about 2010, give or take a few years, I got asked to start doing Christmas parties to sing at. And then it started getting, well, hey, since your laptop's here, can you play some music in the background? And I'm like, kind of like a glorified iPod?
Yeah.
Sure, I can do that. That's easy. And it kind of started taking off little by little in that process. Like I was, at the time, I was in a local band that had played around community. And so whenever I needed to go do something, I was like, I'll just take the band sound system, plug my computer in and go.
Yeah.
And literally, it was one of the things, I didn't market, I didn't try to do it, build it. I didn't want to do it. I was happy with my life the way it was going. But it just unfortunately kind of took over. It just people more and more and more. And then it became its own entity where it's like people would actually not book me to sing or to play, but to DJ. And so that kind of took off for about 5 or 6 years. And then obviously we got into, I would say that, and that was when it was just a side hustle. I think it wasn't even a hustle. It was a side hobby. So right. I wasn't even trying to make money on it. And people throw money my way, which was great because then I'd pay for new gear.
Yeah.
And then the cool thing happened right during COVID. Companies, and I, at that point, I'd formed my LLC formally to, not just put it under my own sole prop, but did my LLC. And it was good. And I came across a couple bridal shows that I was invited to participate with. And I was like, not really into marketing, but sure, I'll go. And I had a blast. I wasn't involved, just had a little booth, but did that, really enjoyed the community of other people in the industry. I didn't realize it was an industry. I just realized, this is, late, 2000 teens. So, 17, 18, 19. I'm like, this is cool. This is kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll do it more now from a side hobby to a side hustle. Then COVID hits and the world kind of shuts down.
Yeah.
I'm at actually a job doing really, really well, making great income. And I come across a guy, actually I came across another DJ online. She's from the East Coast. Her name is DJ Rachel. And she had this really cool sound setup, like the DJ booth. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is cool. Nobody has that. I've never seen anything like this. Brand new. And I'm like, I want it. And I was so, being a child of the 80s, I just did what I did and I got it. And it was brand new. It was a totally thing. Well, I reached out to the creator. His name is Danny Max. Super nice guy. Bought the booth, got it shipped out to me, set it up. And then I needed certain things to okay, it's one thing to have a laptop and a controller, but now I've got DJ furniture. So where do I go with this? And so I really started diving into this industry of being a DJ instead of doing the side hustle, making it into a career a little bit, and thinking maybe I could do this. So I started following some amazing DJs, DJ Rachel being one of them, watching her setup, and her story is phenomenal. So actually, ironically, next week I'm headed to Wedding MBA. I leave tomorrow. The conference is next week. So I'm at Wedding MBA a couple years back, and I'm like, oh, Danny Max is here. I'm going to meet the guy who built my booth. And I went up to him a couple years back, and I was like, this is great. And he's like, you have the first one ever built. I mean, Rachel had the prototype one, but the first one off the assembly line was yours. I'm like, I didn't know that. That's cool.
I've got the original.
I'm in the know. It was cool. I felt like, okay, I could start. I got something here. It's a little different than everybody else. And not that anybody else's setup is bad or anything. It's just I wanted something a little more elegant, a little more classy. And from there, it was a few months later, Danny reached out to me. He's like, hey, I know you got our product. There's a big conference. It's PBX MEX Mobile Booth Expo, Photo Booth Expo, Mobile Entertainment Expo. You want to come down and talk to people about the booth? I'm like, sure. But let me think about it.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. People don't go to Vegas to work. They go to Vegas to have part.
Yeah, use this thing. Why am I going to make a speech about
but
it?
I really liked him. He's a great guy. And then he threw out to me, he's like, oh, and DJ Rachel's going to be there. Suckered me right in. I was like, okay, I'll be there.
Yeah.
Got to meet her. Inside fangirled like a little child at a Taylor Swift concert. But externally, oh my gosh, I'm so glad to meet you. But in that process, getting to meet her, getting to see this as an industry outside of the Reno area.
Yeah.
And what this is doing globally was life-changing. I came back with a renewed focus. I'm like, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
So I did. I spent the next 3 or 4 years building me. And as that process grew, it kind of grew faster than I was ready. And I got more inquiries than I could handle. So we started adding DJs and adding DJs. And for the longest time, it was Jerod Arreguini music. But people couldn't say my last name anyway. But then as we added more DJ teams, it just seemed logical. What if I took the J, the A, and the M and just make it Jam Entertainment? We did that earlier this year because I think actually last time we talked, it was Jam or Jerod Arreguini Music still. Rebranded, and now it's even growing. I was just kind of on the way over here. I shot a reel. And it's like, I have 15 inquiries for August 24th of next year. Yeah. Just that one day. I'm like, and then I realized, oh, it's 8 and then 24. Okay, that kind of is clever. But it's slowly grown. And in the process of that, like companies like KFC found us. They actually sent a headhunting group out, interviewed hundreds of DJs all across Northern California, Northern Nevada, and then narrowed it down to like 6. We did face-to-face interviews. And then we were honored enough to get the contract. So it became one of those things that, my whole shift it's not about being a DJ. It's about creating experiences. If I can create experiences at a wedding, I don't care if they know who I am. They can't pronounce my last name anyway. So at the end of the day, it's about, and this was like at your wedding. It's like, it's your day. It's not my day.
Yeah.
It's, if I want them to remember, Steve and Lauren and the amazing time they had. And if they happen to remember the DJ, there was a DJ there, cool. What I don't want them to like, oh my gosh, the DJ was horrible. Did you see the way they looked? Or they were drunk, or all the things that go within the industry.
Don't want to take it away.
No, I want to be, I joke often, this is kind of my analogy. I use it all the time. It's like, imagine watching Titanic with no James Horner soundtrack. It'd be okay. Yeah. I'd still celebrate when Leo died at the end, but at the end of the day, it's the music that just kind of weaves into there, and that's what we want to do. We want to create those experiences. And then we added photo booths, and then the 360 photo booth, like at the Oscars, and now we've got cold sparklers and dancing on the clouds, and our newest toy is a CO2 gun. So
you never realize how much sound and score affects so much.
Oh my gosh, it's
especially like for just a mini example to go back to Disneyland in some way. So on the California Screamin', now the Incredicoaster, they have music the entire ride that you're there, right? There's stuff going on. You hear the music going into it. The kid, she loves riding the ride. She wants to break her record of doing it 8 times in one day.
Dang, that's good. I think I've got 6.
Yeah, my mom went on it a few times with her, and my mom doesn't like roller coasters. She's like, I'll go on it for Renee. So she goes on it. We try to break the record the last time we go for my 30th birthday. So we're there. First time, it's a lot of fun, but it keeps breaking down. So, we can't go on it as much as we want to. Second time we go on it, as soon as it gets started, me and Renee are just sitting side by side. It just starts going. No sound.
No audio.
We're like, huh. Isn't something supposed to go on?
Doesn't feel right.
She glares at me. She's like, music's supposed to be playing here. We go through it. The only thing that you hear is a baby laughing, so it's creepy as hell. so like all the audio's kind of off here and there, and you just hear, I didn't like that.
Right.
Third time we go on it, nothing. Wow. Like this, what are we at, Six Flags? Sorry, Six Flags. But it's like there's no music, nothing's going on, and you realize that when you're in an experience that you're doing something, whether it be a roller coaster or an event of some sort, if the score isn't right, or if you're watching a movie and the music's just off or something's going on, it changes the entire effect of everything.
Well, and the emotional impact of the individual is catastrophic. I mean, it can be one of those, like, it's like watching some kind of romantic movie. We're getting ready to do this, the holidays, and, Hallmark Channel will do nothing but emotionally abuse us all.
Yeah.
But it's when it comes out of those emotional moments and the commercials kick on and they're twice the volume and it's abrupting. That's exactly the same thing. Now you still have music, but now it's offensive. So it's all those little things, making sure. I tell brides all the time, we're providing a soundtrack to your day. There's only 2 times in a wedding, for the most part, there should be dead silence during the ceremony, unless it's orchestrated to have something there, and during toasts. Otherwise, there should always be something happening.
Yeah.
So definitely true story. But yeah, Disney's, they're the experience kings. I mean, they funnel smells on Main Street. Lighting is, even during the day, there's lighting to create that ambient mood. So, and that's what I teach my team. We've got like 13 employees now, and all of us, I'm like, you are not a DJ, you're not a photo booth host, you are experience creators. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to create experiences for our clients.
Yeah. And then now that Well, to kind of jump back a little bit, so as you realize that this is more of something that you think you can excel at,
Yeah.
what was your first step in doing it? After you, even kind of before you get the OG setup,
Yeah.
do you start kind of just putting things together and then it's like, all right, I'll go do this, I'll go do that?
It was a lot of amazing mentors. It's getting with people that support you, that are not detracting, that are trying to, and it's funny because a lot of times it's really challenging locally, and that doesn't matter whether it's Reno, Tahoe, or Napa, or New York, or whatnot. Your peers sometimes see you as competitors, so sometimes your mentors have to be outside of your immediate circle because you're not taking their business.
Everyone's competing for the same
100%.
thing.
And so I've been really lucky because as I really decided to kind of launch into this, people like DJ Rachel, people like Danny Max with Max Design, James from Curator, who does the photo booth software, going to these things like Wedding MBA, PBX, DJ Expo, things like that have allowed me to get involved. And now I'm a brand ambassador for Danny, which is even allowing me, like, I'm at the top of my game, but I want to take it even higher. Not because it's not a competition, just me. I want to be the best I can be.
Personal competition.
And so to be able to go to these things, like next week, it's going to be an amazing time. I'm actually taking an MC masterclass Friday or Saturday and Sunday this week. So, I want to be better. I'm a good MC. I was the voice of the Silver Legacy for a while.
Yeah.
But I want to be a better MC. And in that process, YouTube was a huge tool because I was able to see people I respected and mentored. Like Nick Spinelli has a whole talk show where he breaks things down. He's a DJ. Jason Jani is another DJ who talks business aspects of being a DJ. So there's these influencers out there that are starting to guide me. And now we've actually started our own channel, the Jam Entertainment on YouTube. It's just in its infancy, where I want to take and I want to pour back. I don't care if it's the local kid who literally is a block away from me, or somebody in Joplin, Missouri, who goes, you know what, I love doing this, and I want to give those tools to them, not just as DJ, but as a business owner, how to play well with others, but how to also be honest. One of the things that I've struggled with my whole life, and you can probably respect this being on an actor, is we're always performing in a way. We're always on stage. And I think that COVID taught me something that I needed to learn 30 years ago, was just about being authentic.
Right.
And now I want to pour back into people. I don't care if it's a local DJ. And I've got a lot of really great friends that are local DJs, and we help each other, and we kind of iron sharpen iron with that. But at the same time, I want to give back just to the whole event community. So there's times that I'll talk about tips and tricks for planners or photographers, and it's from my perspective, and I'm not saying it's the end all,
right?
But I'm thinking back to these other people that when I had nowhere to go, and I'm like, I can play music, I know music, I have a degree in music, but this is an industry thing that's so and there's like Serato has DJ classes, but they teach like how to mix. Right. That's great, and that's a skill in and of itself. Mixing is a skill in and of itself. But what we do with events, taking those from the moment the guests arrive through the ceremony, cocktail hour, dinner, dancing, other specialties. Yeah, that in alone is an artwork, and there's not a lot of there's no school to go to. So we in this community, and I it's funny as an influencer on some level, but I still look at myself as kind of like a toddler in some ways, where I'll pick up the phone and call Rachel or call somebody and be like, hey, I need help. What do you think about this? And I feel, I'm 50 years young, right? But I'm still while I'm in the top of my game, there's so much of my industry that I don't know, or I don't know where I want to know it. I could be comfortable. I'm good at that, but at the same time, it's like, I want to turn and continue to get knowledge, but I want to give it back too. That's so kind of back to your question, where did I go? It's just COVID was transitional for me. A lot of isolation, you make or break.
Sitting with yourself. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, it's kind of crap or get off the pot. And I was in a career at the time that paid me very well. So I was able to take all of that money, pay off my personal debts, and then invest hundreds of thousands of dollars into my equipment, into my advertising, into my branding, all of that thing. you know, and I guess if I was to give somebody who might be watching a piece of advice that is interested in getting into it, is you got to start with the basics.
Yeah.
You got to get yourself a good computer, a good controller, and then some good mentors. From everything else is really an add-on. Like you don't need. I started out with a tabletop and a cloth, and like everybody else. I had the gig bars like everybody else. It took time to build up, and now. Whether it's me or my team that goes out, we set such a standard. I was talking to a bride actually right before this. They're in South Carolina. They're getting married on the coast in in California, just outside of San Francisco. And one of the things about it was, whether it's me or somebody else, they're going to get the best. They're going to get all the great equipment. They're going to get the great planning. They're going to get me involved. You're not going to have to, even up until the day of, if you don't choose me as your DJ, no big deal. I'm going to be with you in that process, though, because I don't want you to feel left out. But at the same time, it's one of those that you've got to find your passion. And I never thought being a DJ would be a passion of mine. And I look at it as it's just a tool. I'm a father of 4. I've got 3 daughters. You got a stepdaughter who is, hitting that teenage years and all the craziness of that. I've got 3 daughters, that are adults now, all, 2 are in the Air Force. 1 is still figuring out who she is. My son works for me. But I tell all my clients, doesn't matter whether it's KFC or a backyard wedding. It's like, I treat everybody like it could be my daughter, and how would I want that experience to go?
You want to make it special.
It's got to be awesome.
Yeah.
And if it's not, like, even if it's another one of my DJs, I tell them, you better treat it like it could be my daughter, because if it's not, we're going to have words.
Yeah. If you make it like you just put in a cassette tape, then it's over. 3 things. 1, would you like a little bit more?
Yeah, I'll take some more. I'll never turn down some Jack. So.
Have a little Nipsky. 2, well, actually, one of the things is when you said knowing the basics is kind of a big thing for any profession that you want to do. If you don't know the basics, then you can't move on and grow and go forward.
Right.
Because I was talking football a little bit earlier with one of the other guys that's here. It's like everybody starts out, if you know the basics and you know your technique and you know how to get started, then you can add your own flair. But mainly what you need to do is you need to know the basics. And then once you know the basics, you can grow from there and add your flair to it. Once you add your flair, then it's yours. Makes it your own.
But until then, everybody's got to learn, whether it's music or acting or, I took, the school classes in theater, through ACT in San Francisco. And, we all had to read all the books and all the different techniques and whatnot, and nobody got out of it. We all took dance classes, we all took voice classes, we all took projection classes, we all did all these things. And I remember, even ironically, back if we take this conversation full circle, doing track in high school, and I was a pole vaulter because I wasn't big enough to do anything else. How many times without even actually launching the pole into the little pit, we just ran down the thing with the pole, making sure we had it right before we even launched ourselves up and over. That I spent weeks and months just perfecting the grip and how to hold that, where it's like, and then you watch these guys on the Olympics, go 17 over and they're like perfect form, and they're, watching them on Sports Center. What the heck? How is that? But it's like, they all started the same thing. They all went back to the very simple, whether it's football, baseball, music, acting. Start with the base. It's like cooking.
Yeah.
Start with water, learn how to boil water.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're going to add some salt. Maybe we can boil some eggs.
And that tends to be a problem, too. It's like later on, people forget the basics. And that's kind of what you need. As you said, it's like with the pole vaulter, it's like if he's not holding it right, what are you doing? Or like a football player, if they're not working their hands correctly, what are you doing?
Well, and it's funny to watch right now. It's like going back to the Taylor Swift comment. It's like everybody wants to date Taylor Swift. Wow, her boyfriend's a football player. Oh, guess what? He had to start with the basics. He had to go back, But everybody has now this instant gratification. It's like we all want to be like, oh, I want to play football and date the prom queen. It's like we want these we want to hit the end goal without putting in the work and the time. And, like I say, I'm 50 years young, and I feel like I'm just getting started in a lot of this stuff, you know, and it's crazy to me to watch an industry that I'm in, continue to grow and become this thing that I'm like, on some levels, I'm an influencer. On other levels, I'm just a kid looking through the window going, wow, I can't wait to play with the big kids.
Yeah.
You know?
Look at me go. I can't wait to get up there.
100%. Like, you know.
And then to go back on that third thing, so you brought up that you were the voice of Silver Legacy. Mm-hmm. How did you get into that?
Sorry, because wasn't the whiskey.
We did discuss it on the audio episode.
Yeah, so...
But to go back for those that haven't heard it.
So kind of a strange story. So back in the day, and this was kind of all around that whole Karaoke Battle USA time, and so we had a local band. I was actually friends with a local radio host in town, and we would just go around doing dumb stuff on our days off, and just I think we went over to what was the Sands at that time, and went to a pool party there. Jeans and t-shirts and tank tops, and the gentleman knew the event person at the Silver Legacy, which was comical to me. I'm like, man, you know everybody. You know, at that time I didn't know everybody. I hadn't quite become the celebrity, the pretend karaoke celebrity that I believe in my own mind that I am. And so we're walking over from the Sands over to the Silver Legacy just to go say hi and whatnot. And kind of a long story short is, my buddy goes, hey, Jared's looking for a job. You know, and I was at the point. And he's like, and she's like, well, I'm looking to hire another, they call them spokesmodels, which is kind of a demeaning term.
Sure.
Because trust me, this is not a model. You don't want to see this.
Who am I modeling for?
Right,
Rings?
exactly.
Like, what are we doing?
Like Joey's and Friends, the hands, you know.
Identical hand twins.
Identical hand
Let's
twins,
go.
totally. So we're there, and out of nowhere, she has the microphone, and the microphone's a live microphone for the entire Silver Legacy Dome, all of the players, and she hands me the microphone and says, announce that. And I'm not even realizing what's happening. It's just going that quick. It's like, what? And she's like, yeah, so Chippendales are coming, you know, August, I think, 27th or something like that. And she's like, go. And she turned the microphone on. I didn't know it, unbeknownst to me, but the Coronas were actually coming down the escalators, and which is, you know, the owners of the row currently. And being a total smartass, I went into what I call it my Disney voice.
Yeah.
And it's that, you know, at Disney, it'd be ladies and gentlemen, or dreamers of all ages, I think is what they say now. And I basically went into, welcome to the Silver Legacy. Don't forget, coming up August 27th, right here at the Grand Exposition Hall, the Chippendales, a fun day for you and all your girlfriends. Just kind of being a smart ass doing that. And I was hired on the spot. Here I'm in jeans. I think actually might have been in a swimsuit and a tank top, looked like a beatnik. And what I didn't realize is, and I was facing one way and the Coronas were 15 feet from me and hired me just like that. So for several years, my voice would play. I would do live stuff like Thursday through Sundays, probably 7 o'clock till 2 or 3 in the morning, and then they record it and play it. And every once in a while, I actually have friends that tell me I still hear your voice in there, and I'm like, I don't know if that's creepy or me just gonna haunt you forever. So
yeah, like I always hear your voice at the Silver Legacy. No, why?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I shouldn't be in your closet.
I do that same thing too. It's like when, you know, like some of the commercials that I've done, they'll come on and I'll get like a random text from someone. I just saw your commercial.
You're like, what? You're like, huh? Which is funny though.
Me?
One of my employees now, her name is Tiffany. She was a bride that I DJ'd for during COVID. Okay. It's like the one weekend in COVID when we could have big weddings, and she had like 200 people. It's crazy. Biggest Disney wedding I ever did in my life. She had every bridesmaid was in a different color dress to match a different princess. I did her grand entrances with little clips of each of the princesses, and I announced her into her grand entrance like a Disneyland. So she's like, I need you to do this. And so, you know, voice work I love, which, you know, it's
fun.
And the guys, you know, they just announced that the couple, the husband and wife team that are the voices of Disneyland and California Adventure are retiring. So kind of a big deal. 30 years. Yeah. He's done it for 30 years. She's done California Adventure for 11 now. So it's a big chunk of life that's like, you know, won't quite be the same.
To be a staple in Disneyland or California Adventure would be amazing. Much like, you know, little ones like Patrick Warburton.
Oh my gosh.
He's on Star Tours and soaring over California.
Oh, my favorite. Hello, my name is Patrick.
Yeah.
I love him.
We do a thing where every time we go on Star Tours, the one little robot that's obviously Patrick Warburton, Renee will be right next to me. I'm like, that's Krunk.
Right?
She goes,
Exactly.
I know. We talked about this. I'm like, he's also on Soarin' Over California.
And every time.
Yeah.
I do this. My son and I do the same thing every time. And we have done it so much. I mean, I'm a magic key holder at Disney, so that's really kind of admitting my addiction there. And every time, doesn't matter where it's at, it's like, and you know the lines, you know what's going to come, and it's funny to me, but probably not funny to the people behind me. So, but my son and I, we do the same thing. In fact, the thing that actually, when you say that, it reminds me of Lord of the Rings, when Viggo Mortensen kicks the helmet. I think it's in Two Towers, and he screams. He actually broke his foot. And it's funny because my son and I probably watched that 40 times. So we've seen it whenever it's a re-release at theaters. We go every time. I tell him, hey, that's when, and I say it like it's the very first time.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I
bet you didn't know.
Yeah. But so I love those. It's like, can't beat family moments that are, especially as the dad, you're just kind of like going, I know you know this, and I know that I've said this before,
or the funny thing is when they beat you to the punch.
Oh,
like we've done that the last time where we're walking up and she goes, that's Krunk, right? Like, it is?
Really? That is brand new information.
We'll just go back and forth on that.
Oh, I love that. But that's the best. That's why Disney's so good. I mean, I go so much. People are like, well, is Disney for adults? And I'm like, absolutely it is.
Yeah.
And it's not, some weird thing. It's just like, it is the best form of escapism. But for me, like for my family, it was always something. We always had a rule. There was never fighting in Disneyland. If a fight broke out within the family somewhere, whether it's kids, adults, whatever, we left. We're not going to associate this place. And I've done that since I was a toddler. So kids have the same rules. So it's one of those things that it's always just, it's truly the happy place for our family to go. Yeah. And then, the jokes don't change. I mean, and there's certain things like, I don't know, for our family, the very first ride every time is always Pirates of the Caribbean. It's a hard left over to Pirates. It's just, that's day one. After that, when the kids were little, having 4 kids and me in Disneyland was a crack, but it was great. But they were great. I mean, my kids, they knew the park better than most. It was like they knew it, and we never had breakdowns or any of that stuff. And then what we did is, day one, Dad called shots. There's got to be some privilege of being a dad. And then the other days, because we always went for like 5 days, we just gave, it was Hannah, Alexandria, Noah, and McKenna. Each one of them got a day. They dictate the day. Where do you want to go first? Where do you want to eat? And they just kind of knew. And then we always did this imaginary Disney bucks. Like they have Disney dollars, you can actually get there. But we always did a thing. If you could, what they call, pixie dust somebody, give them a blessing or give them something better, give them a trick or a tip or something, then I always give them like, hey, you just earned $5, and they could take that imaginary money and buy something at the end of the trip. One time, this is years ago, Year of a Million Dreams, they gave out 1 million dreams, like 1 million different things, from nights in the Disney suite above Pirates to, they had these lanyards, they were fast passes to everything. Oh, cool. So one trip, my youngest daughter and my son and I went, I think I might have just been Noah and I. We went on the Winnie the Pooh ride, and the girls went off to. I think we have a record of like 13 or 14 times on Splash in a row. We do it. We did it during Fantasmic, so you just go over and over. Oh, yeah, it's perfect. Yeah. Freezing night, why not? And so the girls were doing Splash, and we did that. So as we got off, there was some people there, and they're like, "Hey, you guys just won, fast passes for the day." And I'm like, "Well, my other 2 daughters are up at this other thing. Is there any way we can get 2 more? Because if we get the fast passes and they don't, it's not going to go well."
Yeah, it's going to be.
So they gave us 5 sets of 5 fast passes, lanyards, and then, which I still have some of them. And then the girls, no joke, they got off Splash Mountain, same situation. They meet 2 people, they're like, "Hey, my dad, my brother, and my daughter or my sister of Winnie the Pooh. If we don't get enough for them, so now we have total of 10 sets of fast passes, which we only need 5. So basically, what we told the girls is, and I told my son, I was like, "All right, let's go find somebody that you can see, and you've been to Disneyland." They spent all their money to get here. They have no money for anything. They have no money for extra stuff.
Everyone's penny pinching.
But they saved up their life savings to come for this trip, and you can see it on their face, right? And it's by 2:00 in the afternoon they want to kill each other because it's a lot of stress.
Yeah, especially it's a big deal.
It is, and I take advantage or sometimes don't appreciate that I get to go so much. And so we had that on that trip. I was like, all right, let's go pour some pixie dust on people. And they're like, what? I said, I tell you what, we have 5 extra Fives passes. Everybody has to go find one person to give one to. Now, obviously, we're going to look for a family together.
Yeah.
But it was cool. We found this family that was like, the little girl had to go to the restroom really, really bad. And they didn't know where the nearest, they had never been to the park before. So we turned around, and at that time, there was a family restroom over by the Carnation Plaza that was not on the maps. It was something, but we'd been there so much we knew, because with kids, you got to know where all the restrooms are. And so we walked up to them and we said, hey, we'd like to give you these. And they're like, what? Yeah, these are fast passes. You guys can go on rides without having to wait in lines and all of that. And they're like, well, what will you? He goes, oh, we got that. We're good. And I said, I didn't mean to overhear, but you guys have to use the restroom. There's a family restroom literally just around the corner. So we do stuff like that. And now we still do that. My son and I, we just did a guys trip, which is kind of cool, just to 2 dudes going to Disney. And we did the same thing. Anytime we can see someone that we can bless their day or give them a piece of information, it's always comical to hear the know-it-alls that don't really know what they're talking about, especially like on the train. Well, this, if you do this. And usually I can't hold. My son, he's so great. He's so reserved. He's so, just respectful. I am not. If I hear something wrong, especially when it comes to Disney, I'm like, so actually you're going to want to go here, or you're going to want to do this instead. And
that's pretty much how me and Lauren are.
I'm not only am I going to make sure you know the right thing, but I'm going to also make sure you know that you didn't know the right thing.
Yeah. We had a whole similar thing in my family growing up where we would go to Disneyland at least once a year. And we would make it a point, go, knew everything. And every time we would go, there would be quotes that would happen the entire time. So everyone's just kind of, my family has a whole big thing of where we just kind of make little quips about things. So Lauren has brought this up multiple times. She's like, you guys are so fast, and it makes it known that you guys are all related, because you all make just little quips about little things, or you'll bring up quotes, or you'll do something. So every time we would go to Disneyland, we would have some little quote that would come up, and we'd say it in the little time that this is happening. So when we've gone as our family now, we have found quotes that have happened every time.
Oh, I love that.
So it keeps it going on. Like while we're doing something, we're walking down kind of past like Big Thunder or something, and this dad's pushing his kid, and the kid drops like a little Jack Skellington plush. Everybody around stops. It's like the kid dropped the thing. Dad's not paying attention. He's doing something else. Everybody stops. It was like, kid dropped. What's going on? And as everyone's pointing to do the thing, the kid just goes, Jack! And like freaks out and sees it.
Oh.
And so the entire time we're walking around, we're just doing something, and you'll see something fall, and like Renee will do it, or Lauren will do it, or I'll do it, and it's just Jack! And we'll just all freak out. And we have like a whole thing. And every time we go, people ask, or she'll ask or something. It's like, what's the first thing you need to do? I'm like, I don't need a first thing.
Yeah.
As soon as I walk in, I'm happy. Because exactly what you said, it's like, even if people are fighting or something's going on, everybody is just kind of happy to be there.
100%.
And it kind of gives that whole vibe of we're just happy to be there. And that's all I care about. And
it's so amazing to be able to go, like, I mean, back in the day, I remember pulling up in the front before California Adventure was there. It was a parking lot.
Oh, yeah.
But there is something to be said about when you go through underneath the train station, you come into the hub and look down Main Street. There's just like, you're just taken away.
Yeah. Even though there's so many people, everything's going on, you hear the music, you smell the smells, everything. It makes me happy.
I think the year that I went through my divorce, the 2 years after, we had season passes, and I took the kids by myself, which, again, they're little at that point. I think my oldest was like 12. So I had 12, 10, 8, and 2.
Yeah.
Single dad. And I think we went for a total of 65 days in 2 years, which is a lot.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things that it was such a family thing. It became a place. And even now my kids are adults, And they go all the time. It's one of those things. They just know that it's a place of happiness, and we never feel, because we go so much, and you probably even go once a year, because you go so consistently, you don't feel the pressure of, oh my gosh, I have to do every single thing. Now, you go enough, you know all the tricks, you can still probably get everything done. I actually have a personal record. I went solo trip a few years back. I did every ride in both parks in one day.
Wow.
Every ride. So that's fast passes, knowing the rhythms of the day and all
the lay of the land and everything.
Single riders and all the things. But yeah, I did both parks, every ride, and that's even the obscure, making sure you do Casey and Dumbo and all. I did every single ride in one day.
Yeah.
But we go and we we know what we're going to hit, we know what we're not going to hit, using the fast pass system. And then, paying $17 for a churro. So it's, what you're going to do. So
worth it. Totally. And then every time we go, it's like somebody hasn't done something before.
Right.
So we try to make it a point to do something a little different. And then it's like, well, like they have the Goofy's Kitchen thing.
Love Goofy's Kitchen.
So that was the one that we did for my birthday, because I had done it multiple times. And, with me and my family when we go and do that. But Renee and Lauren had never done it before. So then we made it a point, like, we're going to go do this, and both of them are there. We're like, oh, we don't know what to expect. Lauren's looking up reviews, and she's like,
she is. Of course
X,
she
Y,
is.
and Z. It's like, well, I've got to see this, and I've got to see that. Somebody's complaining. The characters don't come around enough as we're sitting there. Every 5 minutes, a different character is coming up and hanging out, and we're eating and having fun, and it's like we do something a little different.
It's a challenge for you. Have you piloted or captained the Mark Twain? Did you know you could?
I have not, but I know you can.
So yeah, you have to go right, and now you have to ask for it. Obviously, we were actually back in the day when they had like Woody's Roundup Barbecue. Do you remember that? Like there was that was the best barbecue in the world.
Yeah,
probably just because it was in Disney and you paid so much money for it. But so we always try to, like you, even still, try to find things we've never done, food we've never tried,
little things,
little nuggets. And this was 10 years ago or so. My son and one of the cast members came up and heard us, and she's like, "Have you ever piloted the Mark Twain?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Yeah, you can actually go up, ask the skipper if you can do it, and they'll take it up the ranks all the way to the top, and they'll let 1 or 2 people a day do it." Cool. So Noah got to pilot, and you write your name down, a little certificate. The one thing that we spent a lifetime trying to do, and we finally accomplished it, my son and I, is going on the Lily Bell, which was Walt Disney's wife's caboose. That is a trick. And I don't know if you've done that or not. It's one of the hardest things. You have to be one of the first people in the park. You have to literally run up to the train station and get your name on a list, and then they run it. It's not consistent. They don't run it every day, and if they do run it, it's only like 2 cycles. Yeah. So like they take like 15 people at total, and you're like, we tried years. I'm talking like most of my kids' life, and then finally my son and I were able. We've only been able to do it one time, and they turn off the music that you hear normally on the train, and he tells you about the car and tells you about what why Lily and Walt would ride in this thing around the park to look at what was going on, to keep tabs on the park and watch their guests and figure out. And it wasn't to keep tabs to be mean, but it was like, what are they enjoying? What
can they improve on?
Exactly. So yeah, there's your challenge. Both of the 2 challenges for you we've got to do, but man, it's
fun because every time something like this comes up, it's like I can talk Disney all the time because I love it. It's been a staple of my childhood.
We could have done a whole time just on Disney.
I could have done it the whole time. We want to talk football. I can talk football the entire time. I can talk acting. We can talk movies. It's those little things that's fun about the show, where you can find little things that people are interested in, and then their eyes light up.
All of a sudden, it's like,
So now we're coming to the close here. Before we do get you out of here, last question here is, what is next? Are you working on something that you want to promote, that you kind of have coming out, or is it, what do you kind of have coming out next?
So kind of what's next is really, now that we did the rebrand this year, so that's been a little bit of a challenge. Although it's been kind of cool because brand recognition is everything, right? In anything.
Yeah.
So the fact that people are, they don't even say Jam Entertainment or Jam Social, they just say Jam. I love that. It's like I met somebody the other day. Oh, Jam, I've heard of them. And I'm like, that's crazy to me. For us, the next level is obviously continuing to build our book of business. What I mean by that, not a book. But the next big thing for me is to really take the training of others and teaching and guiding from just a one-on-one level to kind of the national level, whether it's YouTube or speaking at conferences. There is so much wisdom to be passed on. So I think that's for me kind of the next big thing. And then on a personal note, now that I'm where I'm at in my life, I'm going to revisit musical theater a little bit. What I mean by that is, so this year I went to New York twice, saw 5 Broadway shows in 3 days, both times.
Did you see Music Man?
I didn't. My brother did and said it was amazing. I'm so sad I missed Hugh Jackman.
I don't like the movie The Music Man. I'll say it like that.
Yeah.
Because it's been a whole thing that Lauren and I have argued about because she loves that movie. I understand why, but there's a lot of it that it doesn't resonate with me.
Right.
But Hugh Jackman being the lead in that on Broadway, we've had no real desire to go to New York.
Right.
And I saw that and I was like, we've got to find a way to go and do that.
Did you guys go?
It ended up not lining
up.
They
pulled it right. Like it was such a quick announcement to close.
Yeah.
So I was there. I was lucky enough to go to see Phantom the weekend it closed on Broadway. That was amazing to me. And I have Broadway season tickets to Broadway Comes to Reno. So I mean, I think by the end of the year, I'll actually have seen. I saw 10 productions on Broadway, and then I think 6 or 7 here.
Yeah.
But so the next
goal is
the next private personal goal is in the next 3 years. I want to put together taking it again back full circle to theater. I want to do my own EP of some Broadway. And I don't want to do my own take. I know that sounds kind of weird. Like everybody else, when I hear like some of these major Broadway stars or even friends of mine who are in the industry, they do their own versions.
Yeah.
And I think I want to do really straight covers of some of the greats, like just not mimicking them, doing my own voice, but music of the night like it was sung by Michael Crawford back in 1986.
Right. Well, it's like, as we kind of talked about too, it's like there are those perfectionists that don't want to do their own take on it.
Right.
But then it's also, sometimes you want it to follow a guideline. And
100%.
And you want it to look that way. So not to kind of flip-flop on it. But at the same time, if somebody wanted to do a different take, that's great.
I love that. And I think there's so many people out there and so much talent. And I watch people release stuff, even some of these famous Broadway stars that have probably sung, Bring Him Home from Les Mis 1,000 times. But, they release a different version every couple of years. I love that. That's a skill. But for me, my first time out. So, I think keeping it true to the Broadway and then on the personal side and then really taking the opportunity of being an influencer in the wedding and event industry for being DJ.
Trying to make everything grow. Well,
yeah.
Jerod, thank you for coming in.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Kind of talking and chatting and going down a couple of rabbit holes.
Dude, all day long.
Before we do get you out of here,
yeah.
Go ahead and promote your social medias one more time where you'd like everybody to follow you, anything like that.
Yeah, Phil. As far as business, I've got 3 sites. And really, I think it's Instagram's easiest to follow. But you can, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, all of the things. You can find Jam Entertainment out there. You can find Jam Social, which is our photo booth industry side of Jam Entertainment. The wedding venue, which is South Creek Events. And then my own personal, which is just Jerod Arreguini, which I'm shifting. It's been fun to do just kind of the, hey, here's my life. But now as I'm, hit that 50 years young, I want to take and kind of treat that as again, opportunities for wisdom to like things I've learned along the way and motivation.
Help people out.
So, yeah.
Well, you heard it. Jerod, thank you for coming in once again. And you guys know what to do over here. For us, it's Stephen Longley for me, Longley's Line for the show, Lightstyle Studio for the studio here. We'll talk to you guys next week. Cool.
Good times.
Thank you.
Thank you. This was fun.